Hello world. Sunday the 24th of January, and we're looking into our crystal ball to see what magic Worcester has in store for us tomorrow, Monday the 25th of January. Starting with the T5 for Worcester, we can see weather's warming up again, over 32 degrees on the ground. Convective layer that goes well above 6,000 feet, close to 7,000 feet. The wind is from the west, but it's quite light, 5 knots on this diagram. Moving on to 5 o'clock, the convection is still there, it's cooled down a bit. The wind is moving around a bit, but it's still very light. Looking back at the cloud, we can see there isn't very much, and unless you're going to manage a task deep into the central Karoo, cloud won't be a consideration tomorrow. Blue day. So we look at the height of the critical updraft strength instead. We can see in the Breda River Valley we've got some pretty decent heights. These are all 6,000 feet, in the order of 6,000 feet. The ridges are all looking quite healthy in terms of their convective height, and if we move out a bit, pretty much the same out to the east and to the north, and down the front ridge towards Baines Kloof. If I look a bit, let's go back one. If I look around Endurance, we've got a thermal height of about 8,000 feet, and bearing in mind that the ground level is quite a lot higher there and it's blue, it's probably not such a first choice direction to go for a task tomorrow. Same with the inland of the Cederberg north of Ceres. Although it's closer to 9,000 feet here, the ground level is also higher. Moving on to 5 o'clock, we can see that there's some dead patches appearing in the valleys, but the ridges are by and large still working. I see the top end of the Spitzenberg may be cooling down a bit, and if you're coming back from a task from Porterville side, you might have to slow down a bit over there. But if it really you're struggling, there are other ways to cross this valley. So, yep, not the end of the world. Moving on to 5 o'clock, we can see here at Swellendam, we're right down below 2,500 feet, all the way back to Robertson. So if you go out east, you really want to be back on the western side of Robertson by 5 o'clock. Surface wind, all of this green along the ridges is 8 to 10 knots, which is a little bit slower than what we would ideally want. Just taking a bit of time to comment on how these ridges work. We normally look for 3 things. Firstly, some convective energy. The second is wind, and the third is a component of the wind that is windward onto the ridge. Given those 3 things, the ridges light up and we can get some very fast tasks, like over 170 kilometers an hour task speed in a standard class glider. If the wind direction is not directly onto the ridge, but there's still a windward component, it still works, provided we have this thermic energy as well. But it's a bit slower. And if the wind is actually parallel with the ridge, it doesn't stop. This thermic energy is still here. The wind is still blowing. If you have spurs and turns in the mountain and the ridge, there are still areas which generate lift, and likewise there are areas which generate sink, but glider pilots know to climb in the lift and fly through the sink, so it still works. You can still get around your task. Tomorrow you see that we're missing one of the elements is the wind. We really want a wind speed of 10 knots or above to make the magic happen. So moving on, that's the surface wind. If I move out a bit, you can see this pattern is the same along all of the ridges, right from Claver through to Swellendam to Trudeau Pass and down to Baines Kloof. At 5 o'clock, we still have all of these ridges looking good. The front ridge is looking actually quite nice with this wind 3/4 onto the ridge and blowing 10 to 12 knots. South of Robertson towards Swellendam, we've got stronger winds, but that is coastal air, and as we saw earlier, it's killing off the convection, which doesn't help the magic. 5 o'clock winds on a bigger scale, looking a bit quieter on the western side. I'll come back to that one. Let's look at some task options. Looking at Robertson quickly, 5 o'clock, the wind is pretty vague, but the thermic is there and there will be some lift on the ridge. 5 o'clock, it's been killed off. We saw that cold blue mass moving in. Swellendam, 2 o'clock, okay. 5 o'clock, it's lost its mojo. Tolbach, 2 o'clock, good. 5 o'clock stays good. And a little bit of wind on the Witzenberg, although it's quite light, it's pointing in the right direction. Porterville, likewise, 2 o'clock up to 5,500 feet. And some wind in a useful direction, but very light. 5 o'clock, that wind has moved around more southerly, but the convection is still there. Quick look at Ceres, that's an option. Still working at 5 o'clock, but getting softer. Towes River would be an option if there were someone to, but the ground level you can see, that's Towes River, the ground level is already 2.5, nearly 3,000 feet. So the actual height of the convective band is a little bit low for a blue day out in the Karoo where there's not so many places to land. But still working at 5 o'clock. Fraserburg, if you were to get deep into the Karoo. So what are our task options? You can go anywhere you want to, basically. Just you won't be quite as fast as we've seen on some of the, certainly yesterday, and maybe not even as fast as today. But you can go east. If you do go east, just make sure that you get back from Robertson before 5 o'clock. And if you do go to the north, you can go, most of this should be working, and there may even be thermic as far as Claver. So lots of options for tomorrow, and we leave it to the task setters to find the best to suit everybody. Get back to that one. Just a comment, starting off 11 o'clock in the morning, we can see that we still have an inversion at 3,000 feet. Temperature is down at 25, 26 degrees. We need that to be over 30 before we start launching. And also just a heads up, if the temperature on the ground doesn't reach 30 something, then this model is not is different to what's happening in practice, and the confidence in the whole system has got to be reviewed. So keep an eye out for that. We want 30 something on the ground if we expect this all to happen. lastly, looking ahead, Tuesday, there's some magic in that day. Tuesday, though, Swellendam 2 o'clock, we can see that the cloud is coming in, not too low yet, but looks like we'll be limited to the east in the late afternoon. Wednesday's looking a lot more moist, and if I look at the cloud, you can see there's a lot of cloud, and there may even be some rain, particularly down Swellendam way and maybe into the Breda River Valley. So if you've got something that you want to do, go and do it on Wednesday. Keep Monday and Tuesday for flying and try and get some distance logged. If you're flying tomorrow, fly safely and have fun.